What's going on? Hello and welcome. This is the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. This is the Raptors reaction podcast, but really it's the Canada basketball reaction podcast because another thrilling win. If you woke up early for this one, you were well rewarded to an excellent basketball match. Credit to Australia for first off for losing, but first off for just playing a really fun game in general. Really back and forth, especially in the first half. Australia held a 4-point lead. Canada just could not seem to deal with how quickly Australia was playing. Josh Giddey was looking like LeBron with a weird case, and it was just it was a lot. I mean, he was hitting step back threes. Patty Mills was doing his thing, although he kind of finished this game really quiet. Canada did an amazing job putting a lid on him. But just in general, Canada's defense needed to improve, right? They gave up 49 points by halftime. Remember, these are 10-point quarters, or 10-minute quarters, so that's actually pretty bad. And you knew that with Jordy, he really preaches defense. He really preaches physicality. And when he calls on his team to deliver more of that, it's going to be the starters who step in and bring it. Second half, night and day difference between the first half and second half in terms of just defensively. I thought, honestly, Canada was even a little bit lucky because Australia had missed a couple of easy opportunities to put themselves up even more than just 4 at halftime. But second half, I mean, that third quarter, the way Canada started with their starters, to go from being down 4 to being up basically 10, stop after stop after stop, it was Dylan Brooks pressuring guys out of bounds. It was Dort swiping the ball. It was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander blocking shots. I mean, even Jamal Murray got into the mix eventually, and he blocked shots. Dwight Powell on an island against Josh Giddey, and just like putting him all over the place. And all of Australia just could not execute their offense eventually. And, by the time they somewhat recovered, and by the way, somewhat is kind of just being generous because they only had 13 in the fourth quarter. But by the time they even got some semblance of a grip in the game, probably towards the end of the third quarter, Canada was already back in the lead. And you just know that Canada's going to be playing really well from a position of strength when it comes to defensively. Down the stretch, they didn't have their guys in foul trouble. This wasn't Giannis again. This wasn't like Dylan Brooks is fouling out. This isn't Dwight Powell's fouling out. Lou Dort's fouling out. It's none of those things. It's Canada actually being able to step in here and do a good job defensively with their best players. It's Jordy being with the managed minutes and pulling guys in and out. And quite frankly, it's guys stepping up. I mean, the story of this game is, of course, you got RJ Barrett with another super efficient game, and he hit a number of key shots, including some key threes, by the way, in the fourth quarter that pushed Canada's leads to double digits. RJ Barrett taking it super strong to the cup, shooting really well from the foul line again. Right now, he is 11 of 12 from the foul line through 2 games. Got there 6 times both games. Like, that's really good. He's also being really efficient, 24 points to lead the team once again and scoring 8 of 14 from the field and 3 threes. That's awesome. Shai, I mean, outside of the early foul trouble, he picked up 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes, one on a box out and another one, I think, contesting maybe Giddey at the rim. I forget who it was, but seriously, Giddey was doing an amazing job in the first half of getting downhill, playing quick, even shooting step back threes. Like, it was unbelievable. But then again, this is kind of what he's done for Australia all warm-up tournament and also all, like, well, I guess 2 games in the Olympic tournament as well. But Shai was awesome, 8 of 10. This is despite being guarded by not like the last game, Thomas Walkup. He like literally won Defensive Player of the Year this past season in Europe, playing for the highest level in overseas, right, for Greece. In this game, he's going up against Dyson Daniels, who is like, 6'10", well, 6'10" is being generous, maybe 6'8", 6'9", but super long arms, super physical, plays well with his body, doesn't gamble. And Shai just toyed with him to the point where he shot 8 of 10 from the field, made a ridiculous number of just like step in, leaning, up fake, step through, making those shots. Like, it was ridiculous what Shai was doing in this game. And he was super efficient. But the story of the game for me is, number one, defensively, Canada turned it up to a different level. You go back and watch that third quarter, it is just stop after stop after stop after stop, and it's everybody across the board who was stepping in for those. And then for me, it was, as the game went on, who else was Jordy going to find in his rotation? Here's what I like about Jordy. He's not like married to an idea, right? He knows where his strengths are, but he's pragmatic. If it's not going well, In the first half, for example, his first subs were, Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming in as the first guard off the bench, right? Typically to sort of be that sort of like on-ball defender, providing some pressure. Then it was Trey Lyles. Then, Jamal Murray was in that mix, but they were playing like smaller. And Nembhard, of course, Nembhard was actually the first sub because Shai got in foul trouble early. But like those were the four guys he was going with. A lot of guards and then Trey Lyles at center. You look at the second half, that was not the rotation, right? Because so far Kelly Olynyk hasn't been able to find his footing in this team, which is strange because I've never seen a Team Canada team without Kelly being a big part of it. But quite frankly, he has not been able to defend at a high enough level, and our level of guard play has been strong enough where you don't need to play through Kelly in the post nearly as much. It'll be matchup dependent. There will be certain times when you need Kelly, and there's actually, I can't really imagine like so much ball pressure getting to the point where like Shai can't bring it up or like, he can't get himself open. But like there'll be other moments for Kelly, I suppose, but they haven't been able to find him any spots defensively. It's just been too hard to mask him. But that at the same time, though, Trey Lyles hasn't really done much either. I mean, quite frankly, it's not been a strong tournament for Trey Lyles, either in the warm-up games or in the two games we've seen so far in the Olympics. I mean, today, not a single rebound, right? Despite him being the lone big out there, he's got to be able to rebound more than anything else. He isn't finishing strong. Like he's just not playing strong. There's one play where he rolled to the rim and he had like basically a point blank layup. If he just like went up strong and like really put it on the glass or even like, try to dunk the ball, but he went up soft and left it on the rim. And that was the thing that was bothering me over the course of this game is like no matter what, I had confidence over Australia in the first place. I said in the last game that in the last recap that I thought Canada matched up well with Australia. Australia plays a lot through their perimeter players, their wings, and I thought Canada had the defenders to do that. Lou Dort, Dylan Brooks, those guys can really do a great job defensively. Even Shai, I thought, stepped up in key moments and was awesome. RJ Barrett did his job too. So I felt like Canada had the wings to guard what Australia threw at you with Josh Giddey, with Patty Mills flying around screens, with, I don't even know. There wasn't really a third threat. I would say that like maybe occasionally you saw a little bit out of like Dante Exum, taking a strong to the cup and just keeping his dribble alive and occasionally knocking down a three. But like Canada had answers for those things. And as well as Giddey played in the first half, he was nowhere in the second half. Canada did an amazing job, being all over him. And I'll talk about the reasons why in just a second. But, the one thing that was holding Canada back for me was, well, number one, Shai getting in foul trouble early, super early. But, like, number two is just there was just a general softness to how they were playing. And I think that, like, going forward in this tournament, whether that's next game against Spain, whether that's whichever game in the quarterfinal, because once you're 2-0 in group stage, you're pretty much going to be going through, right? There's, like, obscure like somebody beat somebody by 30 kind of thing that like me honestly you're 2-1, even if you're 2-1, even if you lose to Spain, you should be going through. So whatever happens in the quarterfinals and the knockout matches all after that, like this has to be rooted out. Canada has to be just stronger in general. And I'm not looking at the starting lineup because those guys play strong. Like that's why they start, right? Dwight Powell, that guy fights every single possession. The guy had 5 offensive rebounds and he was never the biggest player on the court, right? Dylan Brooks, he plays super strong offensively and defensively. Lou Dort, I mean, the threes are dropping for him right now, but it's just the defense is crazy. Like it's to the point where in the second half, in the fourth quarter, as Australia is already down 8, you got Patty Mills of all people setting a dirty screen, stepping up and throwing his shoulder into Lou Dort, like literally jumping up into the guy with his shoulder just to give like Josh Giddey a moment to breathe, because that's how much Lou Dort was all over this guy. Like that level of defense, the stuff where like Lou Dort's like flying out of bounds just to get a strip on the ball, the way that he's eating these moving screens, like he's blasting through people and just like play after play after play. Does he get some fouls doing this? Sure. But I thought first off, Canada did a much better job from game 1 and game 2, right? Again, none of these guys were in foul trouble. Even Dylan Brooks with 4, that was not really a foul trouble thing for me. They did such a good job of pressuring the ball. And that strength. RJ Barrett plays with strength on offense, man. He's blasting through people. He puts his chest down, or he puts his shoulder down. He's able to take contact. He's seeking the contact half the time, and he knows that if he bumps first, he's going to neutralize the defender, and he's going to be able to get to a finish. And then Shai, I know he doesn't look like he's like knocking guys around, but watch the game, man. He is really, really strong and wiry and crafty, and the footwork and everything like that. He plays strong. For me, it's like, who off the bench is going to join these guys in playing strong? Because I thought Nembhard did a really good job in the first quarter. He knocked down a 3. He drove in for a foul one-on-one. Could have got an and one, but missed it. He got Trey Lyles a rolling layup, and he got him fouled in the post. So he did a good job of running the offense. We know that he can do that. But as the game went on, it's stuff like he's dribbling the ball, and they're pressuring him on the sideline, and he gets forced out of bounds. Like, that's not playing strong. Nikhil falling over on a screen and just like literally falling on his ass, and then that giving up a 4-on-5, and that leads to a wide open 3. That's not playing strong. Jamal Murray, for a lot of this game, defensively was not playing strong and continues to look a little bit lackadaisical. Although I have to say, in some key moments, Jamal really does step up, and he has that propensity. We've seen that in the NBA as well. Khem Birch in his first shift wasn't playing strong. Kelly wasn't playing strong. Like Trey Lyles. Who off the bench is going to match the physicality, the aggression on both ends of the floor with the starting lineup? Because if we get 2 or 3 guys that do that off the bench on a consistent basis, we're good. And honestly, I know they're not practicing all that much because of how exhausting it is, because of, I imagine it's hard to find court time and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not, it's not as simple as like you play at home and you can go to the practice facility whenever you want. But whenever the next practices are, like, that's what the focus should be. Like, who else is going to step in and be nasty? Because we saw, like, even just a bit of that from Khem Birch, right? As the game went on, first off, Khem Birch was not in the rotation originally, right? Did not see time in the first half, which is not unusual, right? He's basically like the 11th guy. Melvin Ejim's the only guy who didn't play, who was on the roster, but, you don't expect him really to step in a game like this. Although honestly, with Jordy, who knows? He's been pretty pragmatic. If something doesn't work, he'll go to the next options. But with Khem Birch, you saw him after the first initial shift where he missed a couple of plays at the rim. It was actually kind of funny because one of the first plays, because Canada was already on a roll, right? Starters got in a great rhythm, got in a roll, built the lead, actually fought back out of the deficit, built a lead, and Khem Birch is coming in, and one of the first plays, I forget who, maybe Shai creates a deflection, throws it up ahead to RJ, who has a 2-on-1, and he ends up serving up a lob to Khem Birch, and I was like, oh my God, is Khem Birch going to catch the lob? And he didn't. He ends up trying to put in a layup, and it didn't drop, and he missed a couple other chippies. And on the other end, defensively, I thought he was a little bit like slow to react towards the end of the third quarter. But the fourth quarter, Khem Birch, unsung hero for me, was in the game, was competing, was scrapping. Somebody needed to be the backup for Dwight Powell. I mean, Dwight Powell he's always tough. He's like a human crash test dummy, right? You got Jock Landale, who's literally he's got a farmer back home. He's got a ranch back home in Australia. That's actually one of the cooler stories I read. He's like, the original Ulrich Shamshay. But like, Jock Landale with that farmer strength, like turning and throwing his elbow into like Dwight Powell's like, chest, like it's, I don't even know, like MMA or something. And getting himself open for these little jump hooks, like somebody to come back in and really provide that physicality at the rim, because Canada was pressuring a lot at the top, and you needed somebody to clean up. And I thought Khem Birch, as the game went on, I was like, that's the Khem Birch I know, right? That's the Khem Birch where he's been a lot healthier. You read this great story in Canada Basketball's website by a friend of the program, Liban Osman. I know we make fun of him all the time for being off strip boys and drinking Mountain Dew in bed, which, to be fair, is something that is just, you can make fun of drinking Mountain Dew in bed. Come on, man. But like, we're talking, he's one of the best like journalists covering Canada basketball, like period, right? Like him, Oren Weisfeld, these guys, I know we're the friends of the program, but we always bring them on because they have great insights. And Liban wrote this great story for Canada basketball, talking about Khem Birch, talking to his trainer, Henry, talking to just the people around Khem, right? About sort of his what happened with the Raptors towards the end. He just could not get healthy. We saw him play through so many difficult moments. He did, he was injured, but he played through it for his hometown team. Basically, I mean, I don't know. He's from like Ottawa/Montreal, but whatever. Like, let's just home country team, right? And he has such pride about playing for Canada and everything like that. But he just physically wasn't right, and it felt like he couldn't get physically right. And the process of him recovering, right, the process of the fact that you have another former Raptor and Marc Gasol stepping in with Girona over there in Spain, and getting Khem to play for them and finding his confidence, and to the point where you get to this moment where we weren't necessarily expecting Khem Birch to be in the consideration here, as one of the as one of the main players, right? We're not expecting that, but he got healthy enough. He got to a point where he's here. He's made the team, right? Obviously, Zach Edey, dropping out because he got drafted and everything like that. Like, all that kind of stuff, like, plays into it too. Like, I'm not trying to like say that he would have made the team over Zach, but seeing Khem in this moment where it's kind of like a swan song for him, almost in a way. It's just, it makes me really happy to see him. And seeing him in the fourth quarter there, contesting shots, seeing him finishing plays, seeing him make right cuts. And he made 2 layups there just to beat the pressure, right? Because obviously there's going to be a ton of pressure on Shai. There's going to be a ton of pressure on RJ. Seeing him step up, man, that's what I mean. Like, who off the bench is going to play tough like that? Because honestly, next game, I don't know if I want to play Trey Lyles, right? Like, I'm sorry, but like, you got to come in the game with a purpose. All these guys coming off the bench got to come in with a purpose. And I understand it's difficult to come off the bench sometimes. Some of these guys might be starters or whatever, but like, honestly, some of y'all aren't, right? Trey Lyles not a starter. Khem Birch or Kelly Olynyk's not a starter at this point, right? Nembhard's got lots of experience coming off the bench. Nickeil comes off the bench. Jamal obviously is a starter, so I understand to him, and also he's a more unique situation. To be fair, he's the best performing bench player right now for Canada, not even close. But these guys next game got to come in with that physicality, because it can't just be Dillon Brooks and Lou Dort and Dwight Powell and Shai and RJ. They're playing all out physical, winning you advantages, and then every time you go to the bench, it's like softness. Like, it can't be that, right? I'm sorry. Like, it's watching this is turning me to like Gary Trent Sr. or something. Like, next game, I want to see the bench come in. I don't care if they got to foul somebody. I don't care if they got to run through a screen. Play physical, play aggressive, like what Khem did in the end of in this fourth quarter there. So salute to Khem, great return. But seriously, it's the starters, and that's the thing with this group. Canada's starting lineup is awesome. They got so many contributors from all over the place. Like, Australia is a really good team, man. Like, Australia medaled last Olympics. I'm pretty sure they got bronze, right? Like, France was in the gold medal match. They lost that, and then obviously USA is USA. Like, I'm sorry, but outside of USA, like, who got a starting lineup like Canada's, right? Like, first off, Shai is Shai. Like, he's a killer. But RJ, he's been super efficient. Both games, again, leading the team in scoring, 23 in game 1, 24 in game 2. Then you got 2 incredible defenders in Lou Dort and Dillon Brooks. And I love the combo. Like I said the last game, the beauty of having these 2 guys is one guy can be on the opposing team's best player. In this case, it was a lot of Dillon Brooks on Josh Giddey, although it was also a lot of Lou Dort on Josh Giddey as well, which I thought was actually the better matchup, just because they got experience. Like, they played as teammates for the last 3 years, right? Or 2 years with OKC, 2 or 3 years with OKC. So like, I feel like Lou's probably knows his game quite well and everything like that. But regardless, you got Dillon to put on the opposing team's best player, and then you got Lou Dort to just hound the ball. And what I was saying earlier with Australia was at 49 points at halftime. Defensively, Canada just wasn't meeting the challenge. A lot of that was on the second unit, but still, whatever. In that third quarter, when they started the game, and the second half, right, Canada just forced turnover after turnover. And it was one play where I think Lou Dort maybe pressured Josh Giddey and stripped him in the open court, or walled him up, and he had to make a bad pass, and Canada got the steal. But that play right there, I thought, oh my God, that's it right there, because you started to see Josh take his foot off the gas pedal. In the first half, Australia was doing a really smart thing, especially with a really good driver like that, who can also really pass as well, where they would set these higher step-up screens. So it wasn't a screen to get him open, really. It wasn't a screen to get him open for a shot, because we're talking about screens that are 5 feet above the three-point arc. But they would set these step-up screens, and then they would set multiple of these as well. And Giddey was playing a great rhythm and flow, and he was able to just turn the corner, get downhill. He's big, and then he's honestly, he was doing whatever he wanted in the first half. They were doing a great job, but they were giving him way, way, way too much space. One of the ways you take that away is you get so into the ball that they gotta set dirty screens to get you off the ball. They gotta you know, I don't even know. Like basically Canada neutralized all these screens, and I thought once they stripped Giddey that one time, you could see that Giddey was like a little bit more cautious with the ball, a little bit trying to think about sort of, okay, I'm the point guard. How can I get my team into my sets? Clearly, Canada turned up the intensity defensively. My team has turned it over like 5 times in the last 10 possessions. Like, what can we do here? And once he started second guessing and that pace slowed down, and it's a half court game, Canada's winning every half-court game against Australia. I'm sorry, they just don't have the half-court scorers like that. Maybe if Patty Mills was like, doing his thing and just like splashing everything, but Patty Mills was 2 of 10 in this game with 4 turnovers. And, it was Dylan Brooks guarding him. It was, just all over, just doing a great job off the ball. I think they switched the matchups in the second half. Dylan was more on Patty, and Lou Dort was there, but Lou Dort was also on Patty quite a bit. There's plays where Lou Dort would just jump. There's one, at the end of the third quarter, there was a play where it was like maybe a 4 or 5 point game, like pretty close, right? Canada was up, but there was a play where like Lou Dort like jumped up and grabbed the ball with 2 hands like a shark, and then drove the other way for a layup. Like stuff like that is just like, it's demoralizing. It makes you like, it takes a little bit away from your confidence. And you could tell Australia was super confident in the first half. They were getting their game off. The only thing they couldn't really do was knock down open threes, which honestly, when they look back at this game, that's what they will regret. Guys like Nick Kay getting open threes, stuff like that. Like, they were honestly getting pretty good looks. But yeah, second half, Canada just dominated defensively. And then again, like it's the main guys here. Like it's RJ, it's the starters, it's Lou Dort, and then you just need a little bit off the bench, please. Like please, we just need a little bit more off the bench. So first off, a couple things before we go on. Number one, we will be taking your questions once again midway through the stream before I hand out the 3 stars. So send those in if you haven't already. Producer Jerome, producer Alex are in the back right now looking through the comments. And I see you guys in the chat. So leave some comments in the chat and we'll answer them towards the end of the show. Also, I wanted to let people know that this is actually this is actually show 1 of 3 for me today. Later on, I'll be on Pound the Rock at the finale, the podcast finale of Pound the Rock. I can't believe it, man. But it's been like 7-8 years now at this point. But with the 2 guys, who held it strong, obviously for a long time, Joe Wolfon and Jessica Charles, but friends of mine, friends of the program, the Pound the Rock boys. The show is actually over, unfortunately. But I remember like just even being there at the start of that and trying to get that show off the ground and trying to get it greenlit. And the fact that, obviously I left to cover the Raptors in 2019 and full time, and I had to leave the show for that reason. But the fact that those guys carried it on for another like 6 seasons was really amazing. So I'll be on that later. And of course, more importantly, sorry guys, but the show's over for those guys. But like, more importantly, we'll be making an appearance on CBC's Olympic FOMO, starring Mark Strong and Jemeni. We're heading to the studio this afternoon, so stay tuned. I'm going to get a haircut. I'm going to get some lunch, and then we're going to be talking about Canada basketball once again, because it's been really exciting. So you can catch that I believe on YouTube, but you can catch it on CBC Gem. Like, if you guys aren't watching CBC Gem, this is one of your like, it's not like we don't pay for this with taxes, but like seriously, it's one of the main benefits. It's like you don't even need a sports package. You don't even need to do anything. You just need to download CBC Gem, make a free account, and you can watch the Olympics the whole time. Like it's our national broadcaster, and I thought they've done a good job really of bringing the games too. Loving Dan Schulman and Megan McPeak on the call with the occasional throws in the Bill Kareem. I'm loving the fact, but I'm also not loving the fact that like when they had the Canada women's basketball game, and whatever, obviously Canada got waxed against France. They literally had a 2-point quarter in the second quarter yesterday, and it was a blowout. But you had like in the middle, and in the first quarter and the third quarter, you had in the middle of gameplay a box and box where they showed a whole truck ad or a whole SUV ad in the middle of the game, full audio, like 30 seconds, like 4 or 5 possessions will fly by. And I'm like, they don't do this for the men's game, do they? Right? They don't, right? And I'm not trying to like, well, actually I am trying to call it out. It's come on, what are we doing here? Or like at the end of the second quarter, and I get it, Canada was like literally scoring 2 points in the whole quarter and France was up 20 or whatever. But if that happened in this game, they would not turn the game away to be like, hey, by the way, judo's going on. Watch judo instead of in the last couple of minutes. Like, stuff like that. That actually does bother me. But I think on the men's side, they've done a really good job broadcasting. I do think Dan Schulman is misidentifying players like to an alarming degree, but like still overall, it's a great experience. It's a great call. I'm loving how objective it is. I love that, Megan is not just, agreeing or disagreeing with the refs every single time. Everything is in favor of Canada. Like she's actually bringing the insight there and calling objectively. It's just a really enjoyable experience. And of course, Dan is awesome. Like he's got the great voice, the gravitas. It's been a great experience. But yeah, anyway, go download CBC Gem too. I mean, this is not even a plug. It's just like it's your right as a Canadian to be able to watch CBC for free, basically. Shouts to all those CBC games on Sunday, by the way, for the Raptors games. But yeah, so before I get to questions, just a couple more things. Yeah, for me, like I think Giddey deserves a lot of credit in this game, because out of all the curveballs you can be thrown, this is not one you plan for. Shai getting 2 early fouls. Shai's never in foul trouble. Like I don't remember a game where Shai's in foul trouble or anything like that. Like he's just not that type of guy. Shai picking up 2 fouls today, and it was like first quarter, I think first play defensively, Canada forced a stop, but Shai was there to contest for the rebound, and he got called for like an illegal box out or whatever, and then the next play contesting at the rim. Those are things that Shai is going to be doing. He's a very willing defender. He's willing to get in for plays. If you saw him block a shot today, you saw him like dive around the big and like reach around and strip the ball in the post, where it looked like a post entry would basically mean an automatic bucket, considering the size and the position of the big in front of him. But he's diving around, like he's doing everything defensively. So you don't want to take away that aggression, but you're just never playing for the fact that like Shai of all people is going to be in foul trouble 2 minutes in. And I thought Andrew did a really good job of coming in and keeping the offense afloat. Andrew is a really good player. I thought it was the first chance you got to see Andrew run the offense, which when he comes off the second unit, like he's kind of unsure. He's like, I got to wait to see what Jamal does first. And if Jamal wants it, then he's going to go. Otherwise, I'm going to have to try to cook. It's not necessarily the same. Whereas like this one where he's more the lead guard. That's not to say he can't play with other point guards. He literally does that all the time in Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton. But still, like, I thought Andrew did a good job. But in general, I thought Giddey did a really good job managing the minutes. Even small things like when you're rolling and you have the advantage, it can be very tempting to just keep your guys in, build like a 20-point lead, and hopefully, and then take your guys out. But you saw Giddey, and this is something Giddey talked about at the start of training camp. He doesn't want to burn his guys out. His assessment of last year's World Cup was that, number one, they only played 7 guys in their rotation, which was the 7 NBA players. Granted, they've added a lot more this year with the Olympics. But his assessment was they ran out of gas, and in that game against Serbia, where they ultimately lost in the tournament, I believe in the semifinal, that game, Serbia kind of ran them out the gym. They had way more energy, and quite frankly, like in a rematch, I mean, I think Canada could do really well against Serbia, right? But like, that was Giddey's assessment. They rode those 7 guys a little bit too hard. There were games where like Shai would play the entire second half. And to be frank, like the team wasn't as good as it is right now, so they kind of needed that. But you're seeing him take Shai out for like 2-3 minutes. You're seeing him take Dwight Powell for 2-3 minutes. Guys all got their rest. He's not just burning them out. And then when they come back in, number one, like their foul trouble is a little bit better managed, but also number two, like they're able to just be at their very best. So of course, the other side of that is you've got to really be able to manage to get a good rotation in. And that's where I also commend Giddey, because again, he wasn't married to the idea. Okay, I can't find a spot for Kelly Olynyk this year. I'm sorry, Kelly, you're the captain, but you just kind of have to be there. Like, okay, I don't want to reveal the chat what producer Jerome said to me about the situation, but like it just feels like Kelly can't really get some minutes, right? It feels like Trey Lyles can't really get himself any sort of. I think there's a higher level here with Trey Lyles, to be very clear. Like if he plays more physical, more aggressive, I really do think that if he matches just the intensity of this tournament, he can really play a role, because they need in between, they need a wing, and he really can do that while being a small ball center. I think he's better as a wing. But I thought Giddey did a good job of managing the rotations, everything like that. And then also, like, the response defensively. Can you get a response out of your team? And of course, like, these are veterans, right? Like, like the starting lineup, like these are all guys who are like longtime NBA players. Some of these guys are stars, like a Shai. RJ, has been a 3rd overall pick. Lou Dort has carved out an incredible spot for himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to the point where they're comparing Bronny James to him, which I think is, again, not fair to Lou Dort, man. Come on. You know, Dylan Brooks, right? He's been successful in multiple stops here. Dwight Powell, I mean, he's never been like a star player, but he's like year 11 now, right? I still remember him coming out of Stanford. He could shoot a little bit too, and I was like, okay, this is a dynamic player for Dallas. He's stuck around for so long to the point where like, what does Zach Law always say about Lou Dort, or not Lou Dort, Dwight Powell? He's like, you just can't get rid of him. Like, he's just always gonna find his way into the minutes, find his way into the rotation, and be on a team. These guys are solid pros, but getting that response from them, finding the right adjustments, right? Sticking with like, because you could easily say like, okay, you know what, these step up screens are killing us. What we need to do is go under and sort of like cut them off and all. And honestly, maybe like as a strategy, it's not bad. But he didn't give up on that. He's like, you know what we need to do? We need to do our strategy better, which is to get on the ball, which is to get into them. You know, neutralize these screens by getting so into the ball. And that's what happened. So I think, honestly, like, Jordy, even when you hear the timeouts, you're not hearing them as much in this tournament because there's a lot more ads. Last tournament in the World Cup, maybe because the games are like 4 a.m. or whatever, or I don't know, maybe because, you know, a lot of Canadian companies, you know, still need to see the light in terms of being able to advertise in basketball. But like, they weren't advertising. So even during timeouts and stuff, they weren't cutting the commercial. They were just going straight into the huddle. And you got to hear Jordy so many times, and sort of his demeanor and his composure. That alone commands respect. So I just think he's done a great job of coaching this team. So, I mean, another great win. Not to say you take your foot off the gas pedal, but against Spain, like, you know, I think Canada, first off, they beat Spain last time. It took a lot. It took like, they were down double digits at half. Shai brought them back. Dylan brought them back. Then they fell down double digits again, and then Shai brought them back, won the game at the very end. I mean, honestly, that game for me is like forever etched. Like, it's that was the biggest Canada basketball moment when Canada beat Spain last year to clinch Olympic qualification first and foremost, but to advance in the tournament. And the context of that is like, okay, maybe you look at Spain and you're like, what do you mean? They got the Hernan Gomez brothers. They got Sergio Yul taking 15 threes in a game, which kind of incredible for a guy that old, taking 15 threes. What's the big deal? They got Lorenzo Brown. Like, what is the big deal? Like, the big deal was up until Canada knocked them out in last year's World Cup, Spain had been in the Final Four of every tournament they were in since like the early 2000s. So for like a 20-year stretch, they were top four, no matter what, including they were the reigning Eurobasket champions with like the same roster, basically. Like, Lorenzo Brown was like their MVP, and like, you know what I mean? Like, they just find a way. And so it's never going to be easy against Spain. They already beat Greece, which is already a big result for them. Greece 0-2 is pretty tough, especially with Giannis. But like, yeah, I mean, seriously though, like, Canada, we're really good. And I know, like, maybe as a country, we're like, it's harder for us to just be like all out confident. Maybe we don't feel that sort of like exact, I don't know. Maybe it's a little harder for us to like be as confident or have as much swagger as the States. And obviously the States have lots of reason to be, have swagger. Like, look at their roster. Like, it's so funny. Like, the biggest controversy is like Tatum didn't play. It reminds me in a way of like when you watched a lot of Team England play, and England was getting results over the course of the Euros, but like, they were and you just see this like regional fandom of like, oh man, they can't find a place to play, Trent Alexander-Arnold. And honestly, I'm a Liverpool fan, so obviously I want to see Trent, but I'm like, yo, they're winning. They're finding a different way. Okay, they don't play Trent, whatever. It's a national team, right? Or like, oh, they haven't found a way to get Cole Palmer into the game. Oh, they need to play this. And it's just like regional. It's just teams of clubs carrying their like petty club shit into like the bigger picture, which is like competing for your country. And it's the same shit that's happening basically with Tatum and Team USA. Granted, USA is creaming teams, whereas like England was squeaking by them. But it's that same like regional fandom, that stupid little pettiness of like, oh, Tatum versus Bam or something. Like, who cares, right? They're winning. But seriously, going back to the point though, you can feel really confident about this team. Like, we have, even in adverse moments, and you've seen the adverse moments, right? Last game, the adverse moment was you got Giannis rolling downhill at you every single goddamn play. And then this game, the adverse moment is, your star player picks up foul trouble and has to sit with 2 minutes into the game. Meanwhile, on the other end, they're doing they're getting blitzed by a really high speed, really, really good Australia team. Like, Australia played USA to like 6 points when they played in the tournament warm-ups, right? So for Canada to be able to like be down for most of the first half, fight back, then establish the lead, then Australia claws close, then Canada reestablishes the lead, all that. I mean, this is a team you can believe in, and I'm just super hyped. I'm fully behind this team, and yeah, I'm already really buzzing about the next game against Spain that takes place in a couple days. So like I said, I'm gonna take a couple questions in the chat here. Producer Alex, what you got for me, man? First one, Lee Van Osman. Okay, dog. What are you doing, man? Aren't you working? What does RJ have to do for you to pour osmos on yourself? Well, I mean, first off, for people who don't understand this joke, basically, RJ Barrett is in a decent amount of interviews, and usually in the interviews, the question is always posed to him like, "Hey, you're back home." The first one was actually open gym, actually. It wasn't even an interview. It was just like, he got traded here, obviously, with quickly open gym crew on hand to sort of like pick them up from the airport, talk to them, everything like that. And they're in the cab together and everything like that. And RJ's like, oh man, I'm going to show quickly all the spots, like Tim Hortons, Osmos. And you just, every interview that RJ Barrett's asked about, like, what do you love about being home? This man just always says Osmos, which maybe, okay, if you're not from Toronto, or maybe you're not like, I don't know. Maybe you're from Toronto, but you somehow have avoided the Osmos discourse. It's just like, Osmos is fine. Like, Osmos is fine. I know, jokes aside, like whatever, like, but it's fine. Like, who among us has not had like a chicken on the rocks in a moment of desperation and a moment of need? Like, it happens, right? But it's not one of those things where you like stand for. Like, it's not like, I mean, maybe Osmos is a potential future sponsor. So, and they do advertise a lot in the basketball space. So like, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna chill out. Like, I'm not trying to make fun of Osmos in this instance, but RJ loves Osmos. And so when RJ hit that 3 to put Canada up 12, when RJ, once again is playing amazing, in sheer excitement, I tweeted out, RJ Barrett, I'm pouring Osmos on you, my GOAT, which is, I suppose, like, I think the Knicks fans really came up with this, which was like, Dante DiVincenzo, I'm pouring Ragu on you, my GOAT, but, like, kind of the same idea. But yeah, anyway, RJ's playing great. I mean, if, I don't know, I don't want to commit to having to pour Osmos on myself, man. Even the thought of it is making me feel terrible. So I don't know, man. Lee, man, what does RJ have to do for you to pour Bellissimos on yourself? That might be even a bigger discourse to have. But shouts to Lee, man. Once again, go read his stories. They're excellent. The story about Khem Birch genuinely made me a little emotional, just because I always really liked him. I thought he wasn't like the savior or anything. Like, he's one of the only good things to come out of Tampa. Obviously, the main thing is you got Kyle Lowry out of it. Or not Kyle Lowry. You got Scotty Barnes out of it. But one of the other things is you picked up Khem, you re-signed him, and if it wasn't for the injury, like, I actually think that he would have played a pretty big role. He started quite a number of games for the Raptors, but I don't know. When I saw Khem in person, like, I remember this one interview I did at training camp. Not training camp. It was media day. And I came back and I interviewed Chris Boucher, and he was, great Chris interview as always, really open, really, expressive, all that kind of stuff. And then I had an interview with Khem, and it's media day. Everyone's really excited. Everyone's just like saying positive things, like, I gained 15 pounds of muscle, or like, I'm healthy, I'm ready to go, or like, we're gonna win, all that kind of stuff, right? I was talking to Khem, and maybe it was just like my bad as the interviewer, because like, I could have done something that's like an icebreaker that was a little bit better. But I had like looked up Khem Birch obviously before interviewing him, and I saw like, oh, his birthday is in like 2 days. So I started the interview just with a really like offhand remark of like, hey, you're turning, your birthday's in 2 days. You're turning 30. I just want to, say congrats. And his thing was like, man, why'd you have to remind me of that, man? I've been thinking about it. I've been dreading it. And honestly, like, I was kind of dreading turning 30 as well. Like, we're in the same age, 1992 year, the monkey. But like, the whole interview, I was just like, oh man, like, are you okay? Like, because we were talking more and more about the season. He's like, yeah, like, I was really playing hurt all of last season. I got to get my knee right and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't get surgery, but like, you could just tell that he wasn't in a great space. So going from that perspective, and that was going into his last season. And then obviously he wasn't on the Raptors last year. It's just a really good story. Go read Lee Man's work. But also, Lee Man, go back to work, okay? Why are you asking me about Osmos? Next question in the chat. T. Meyer 16. Question for Will. Do you think Canada will need to shorten the rotation to have success in the knockouts? I think that's kind of inevitable to some degree. And to be fair, though, I don't think Jordy's necessarily trying to play 11 guys. I think that his second unit hasn't performed for him either game. So he's trying to find the right combinations, right? In this game, what you needed against Australia was like, first off, obviously you need your overall defense to pick up, which it did. But in general, you also need a lot more like ability to switch, I felt like. And you couldn't really do that with Kelly. You couldn't do that with Trey Lyles. Um, I'm sorry, but some of the guys just needed to play more physically. Nembhard in the second half, Nikhil in the second half, it's just too weak. Like, seriously, like, I know they got a higher level in them. So he had to search for answers. And that's how you got Khem into the game, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think he's trying to play probably 9, if I had to guess, maybe 8. And we've seen him play shorter rotations. That's the thing where I don't doubt that Jordy will know what to do. But until we get to that point, like, I actually think that you don't need to burn yourself out as much. Even though this is, like, again, it's pretty much as hard of a group stage, well, just as tough of a group as you can really get into. Like, to have to play Greece first game and then Australia, like, these are really, really amazing teams in the scope of things. And the fact that Canada is like above these two already is really impressive to me, because I know on talent you can say that, on paper you can say that, but like, yeah, Team Canada's on the men's side has never been like on paper we're going to be as good as we are on paper. Like, we've always been a little bit underwhelming, so that's why I understand again the lack of confidence, but like, you have to show confidence in this group. They're sick. And yeah, I mean, anyway, regardless, like, I think they will shorten the rotation when they need to. Some of that's dependent on foul trouble as well. They've had to manage that both games. More game 1 than game 2, but yeah, Jordy knows what to do. I trust Jordy a lot. Next question. Arsh says, question, what would you like to see more of from Andrew? Do you feel like he's still finding his game, or is this the best we're going to get from Andrew? I think there's a higher level to get from Andrew. I think that, you're not necessarily, like I said, I already pointed out on a couple of these episodes, but it feels like he's waiting on Jamal to make his move, and then he'll make his move. But they're not necessarily playing off each other all that great, quite frankly. He hasn't really been catching shooting for threes that well, although he did knock one down in the first quarter, which is pretty important. Canada was down. You needed his offense. I thought Andrew played really well in the first quarter, but the rest of the game, I just feel like, look, defensively, there's no reason why he can't. I mean, you're not going to play at a Lou Dort or Dylan Brooks level defensively, but he's a really good defender. I think he can get more into the ball defensively. I think he make more of a presence defensively. And then I think on offense, like, it's not just the catch and shoot threes. I mean, like, obviously that would be kind of nice. Canada doesn't really have great catch and shoot 3-point shooters. Although I have to say, RJ's done a good job. Lou Dort's done a good job through 2 games. Dylan Brooks has done a good job in the tournament. But it's just in general, they're not guys that are like coming off screens like a Grady Dick and like, they're firing. And I don't think Andrew's that either. But finding the next play where he can touch the paint a little bit, attack a closeout, use an up fake, like just something. It feels like when he's like settling for these like catch and shoot threes from like 35 feet, like, or not 35 feet. It just looks like 35 feet because the line is in shorter. But like even the 30 footers, it's like, I'd rather him sort of like pump fake and put it on the deck a little bit more. And I know for Team Canada, one of their focuses from Jordy is to like get up. Like, I think they want to shoot 43s and they want 30 of them got to be catch and shoot. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily Canada's best style, quite frankly, but like, still, I just think that there's a little higher playmaking level, and I think it's really just got to be a discussion between him and Jamal. It's like, okay, who's going to be the on-ball creator? Quite frankly, like, Jamal's done a good job of it. He's done a better job of it than Andrew in this game. He's obviously got more talent for it offensively, but I also wouldn't mind, because Jamal is a really good off-ball player too, like being able to catch and shoot and stuff, and especially because he's physically like labored, you can see. Why not have Andrew create the initial advantage to then get it to Jamal? The problem there is, second unit-wise, there's not really a guy to him to play pick and roll with. Like, maybe if Kelly was playing more, you can see a little bit better in terms of just like having a dynamic pick and roll player. But Trey Lyles has been picking and popping, waiting in the corner, stuff like that. Even when he rolls, he's not finishing strong. And then Khem Birch like hasn't really played that much. So I do think not having a pick and roll partner is hurting Andrew just a little bit too. But there is a higher level. I think defensively that's on him. Offensively that's on coaching. Next question. Swar Lasers, Assad, what's going on, man? You up? This is kind of early. He says, Canada's offense has scored well, but the offense hasn't exactly hummed compared to these other programs. What will Canada need to do to improve on having success versus the American defense if they get there? So Yeah, we're already looking way down the line. We don't even know when we'll play USA. Obviously, that's going to depend on the seeding and everything like that. But you got to assume Team USA is going to be 3-0 in their group and have the best point differential and that kind of stuff. By the way, I'm loving the playing for point differential. Another FIBA quirk, but it's just like, yo, it's sick, man. Like, I love the fact that like last game ended on RJ dunking the ball emphatically, and I love the fact that this game was like, all right, you know what, Australia's gonna back off. We're gonna give them the last shot, and Dylan Brooks is like, oh, word, here's a chance for me to pop another three on you guys. I love that. Okay. I know in the NBA, like DeMar DeRozan would be fighting half these guys. I swear, man. Him and PJ Tucker would be all over Jeff Teague's, no, Lance Stevenson's ear. Iconic Raptor moment, by the way, from that season, man. That was so funny in retrospect. Probably wasn't funny to me in the moment. I was probably pissed. But yeah, I mean, what does Canada need to do? I think number one, like that's where that get up 43s and 30 catch shoots. You probably need to do that against USA. USA is going to really blitz and double team Shai. Quite frankly, Canada's gotten away with it a little bit, but I don't feel like Canada's done a great job of getting the next action out of Shai getting double teamed. Somebody's going to go show for the ball and then short roll and then make the next pass, stuff like that. I think there's a little bit more to be done on that front because generally speaking, when teams have really double team Shai has given the ball up, but Canada hasn't maintained and sort of like kept it really fluid. Like it's not exactly like Steph and Draymond, Steph has the ball, Draymond screens, double team comes to Steph, quick pass to Draymond short rolling, throws a lob to Bogut, throws it out to the corner, for Clay, like it's not like that. So I think there's that fluidity. I also think that like honestly, the second unit, like number one, they got to be better defensively, but to me, like I wouldn't say they want to play faster, but like they're not really generating enough in half court either to play slow. And Jamal Murray is a pretty slow, deliberate player, so I, I don't really know. Like you got to play a perfect game against USA. Like Serbia is like basically the second best team in the world. Well, that's not true. They're in the group. They're tier 2 of like Germany, Canada, Serbia. I don't know if I put Australia in that group, but honestly, Australia just off the strength. Oh, like I don't even know if I put France in that. Probably France too, based on the defense. They're in that group, right? And they beat that group by like 26 points. So, yeah. I don't know. We got to get hot from 3, unfortunately. Which I don't quite know if we can do that, but maybe they can. All right. Do we have some more questions? If we got more questions, let me know. $2. Oh yeah, after party at Samu Barbecue Reach. Let's go. We go to Bamberg. Honestly, we gotta do a show at Bamberg at some point, man. People want to roll through to what's that library over there? Yeah, I don't know what that library is, but my family spent a fair number of time there. They dropped my brother off when he was young, and then go to the foodie mart to buy food, and then come back, pick him up, etc., etc. But yeah, shouts to Samu Barbecue, man. That's a certified Scarborough classic right there. Next one from Mac. After 2 games, SGA and RJ are the team's clear first and second option. Who would step up to be the third, or is it by committee after those 2? Yeah. I think it's kind of by committee, right? I feel like Dylan hasn't been as prominent offensively as in other games. Part of that's because of foul trouble, but also part of that it's like, yo, he's going to do that much defensively. Like he's not really going to be a guy that is going to be consistently creating offense. I mean, there were obviously moments like the Team USA game. He was definitely their second option. He had 39 points last year. But we also know that's a little bit more of an outlier with him. But he's been able to generate some. Lou Dort's been able to catch and shoot for 3. That's been great. Playing off his defense in transition. Again, that steal, the way he just jumps up and grabs you like a graveler. Like he reminds me so much of like Golem. Shouts to Golem. He just like grabs the ball. Like, and then he just rips down the other way. It's crazy. I feel like Lou Dort would be successful in like many sports. I swear, this guy would be excellent in football, like American football. He'd probably be pretty damn good in like wrestling too. Like, imagine having to wrestle Lou Dort. How are you gonna get an angle on this man? That guy's like a ball, right? Anyway, yeah, I think it'd probably be by committee. I think if Jamal was a little bit healthier, I think he'd probably be clearly the third option. But what I'm liking about RJ in this one is it's not just like him playing off the catch and getting downhill and stuff like that, which I thought he did a really good job against Greece. You saw in the second half, like he was also like posting and slashing against smaller defenders. When he's able to use his size and play bully ball, that's what traditionally made him really successful as a prospect in high school, as a prospect in Duke as well. Him playing against size mismatches. That's where if you want to go ahead to the Raptors side, for example, I honestly think that like RJ playing as the 2 makes a little bit more sense than RJ playing up like as the 4, right? I think when he's able to play a little bit more bully ball, the more effective he's gonna get. So yeah, you saw him like create a little bit out of the post. You saw him create a little bit like this in between shots. I know they're not like the most. I don't know. It's not layups and threes, right? And I think that's probably why it's been so hard to assess RJ over the course of his career, is because he wasn't like a layups and threes guy, right? He became like a prolific layups guy coming over to the Raptors, and then the 3 is getting better and better, and you're seeing him confidently knock those down now. But like, it's the in between stuff is important, like, you know what I mean, like stuff where it's like, okay, it's a tough game, like super physical, like this one, like can you create a little bit, like Shai's tired because he's just made the last 4 plays, and Jamal's like not healthy or whatever. It's like, all right, like I'm gonna go to work and I got something. A lot of these guys don't have something, you know what I mean, like, so I commend RJ a lot for those in between games too. He's been really good. Let's take 2 more. I'm just enjoying taking questions, man. I know this stream is 50 minutes already. Timothy Wu says, I drink bubble tea in bed. Am I weird? I don't know. Weird is just such a strong word, but like it's probably not advisable. Like, are you brushing your teeth afterwards? Because like, those boba and everything like that, it's gonna get in your teeth. Yeah, if you don't brush your teeth afterwards, then it's weird. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't think I've ever drank a bubble tea in bed, but like, yeah, I can't judge you, man. It's okay. It's, honestly, as long as it's not Mountain Dew, it's fine. Mountain Dew is just, I mean, drinking Mountain Dew in general is weird. Sorry. Although maybe if, is Mountain Dew Pepsi? PepsiCo? Yeah, if PepsiCo wants to sponsor the pod, then maybe we'll change our tune on this, but actually probably not. Mountain Dew in bed is just absolute weird in all instances. All right, one more question. We'll get to 3 stars and we'll wrap out of here, because I got to do the other pods today.
Hey, Will.
Oh, hello, God. What?
We have one more for you here.
Oh, okay.
I just want you to rate this bar here from producer Alex.
Oh.
bar/future SGA Instagram caption.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
Okay, it should be on the screen next to you.
Okay. I got you. All right, for the audio, this is what you don't get when you're not watching on YouTube. Although I know obviously our majority of the audience is on podcasts. Alex tweeted out with a picture of Shai at somewhere in France. It's like a pillar and like a nice building. I mean, this could be anywhere in France.
By Nikhil.
Okay, yeah, sure. The caption or the bars are 2 early fouls. I bet it had them giddy. Had me down under. I said, K, let me show them who really runs this city. Honestly, I know producer Alex is going to hate this because I low-key know that he's not a fan of these Shai bars, but I think Shai might got a better bar than this, man. I mean, producer Alex is in the back. Like, if he wants to also play Voice of God, he can also jump in here, but yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I didn't read the cadence right, but yeah, I think because the last one that Shai had was sick. Last one that Shai had was sick. Let me pull up that one. Because, yeah, I mean, not only was he great in the game, but he also, won on Instagram afterwards. And he was guarded again by Thomas Walkup, who is, a really, really good defender and all that kind of stuff. But there was a play, I think in the 3rd quarter, where he locked up Thomas, and he had to sort of step through and try to get a 3 off, and Shai reached from behind and blocked him. And the caption was, square my shoulders and spot up. I don't even pull up anymore. I just walk up. That was kind of a bar, man. You used the name and everything. I mean, I know he used Giddey in this case, but incorporated a lot into that one. Although I got to say, the Greek fans in the comments, I mean, maybe we saw a lot of this with Copa in terms of, I mean, that was different though. Copa was just like a different level of racism when it came to like all the players getting like a million terrible comments. But like, yeah, the Greek fans who have invaded Shai's captions, I mean, yeah, just enjoy being 0-2, guys. Just focus on being 0-2. Anyway, not bad from producer Alex. I think I still prefer, he'll put you in the bonus. It's the center from Sacramento, Domantas Sabonis. That one's an all-timer. But Alex, man, you have a microphone. Feel free to jump on and provide some bars for the audience. But honestly, this pod has gone quite long enough. And we're going to hand out the 3 stars. First star for me, honestly, a lot of guys worthy of the first star. I think I might give it to RJ, man. I thought RJ closed out this game so well. 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. I just thought in the second half, like, as Canada was playing all this great defense, it was like, who's going to do the scoring? And Shai, like, same to the first game, like, 10 shots, right? Didn't get to the foul line as much. Obviously, being in foul trouble, didn't play as many minutes either. But RJ was just capping off so many of these offensive sequences. Again, he's not going to get the best defender. He's not going to see double teams. But, like, whether that's catching and shooting from 3, whether that's him slashing to the rim, it's just moments where I'm like, when I see RJ relative to the other guys on the team in terms of, like, putting Shai aside, but the physicality goes to the hoop with, like, Dylan Brooks does a little bit of this too. But, like, Shai, like, or the RJ just knowing how to, like, play in contact and get his shots up and get to the foul line, all that kind of stuff. It's perfect. Like, it's actually so perfect for this FIBA level game. Of course, the 3-point shooting has been really good. I think for me, it's just the free throw shooting, man. Like, honestly, the threes were already coming around last year. He changed his 3-point shooting diet. That was nice. And that kind of always helps your efficiency a little bit. But, like, the free throw shooting just wasn't at a high level last year with the Raptors for whatever reason. And for him to be 11 of 12 from the foul line the first 2 games has been great. He's rebounding. There's plays where he's, like, scoring one in, taking it over one on 2 and still finishing at the basket. Then he's coming back to rebound. Then he's pushing the break again. Then he was, like, threw that great dime where Australia was in a full court press trying to, like, maybe force Canada into a turnover. And RJ breaks that press with a beautiful pass to Khem Birch, who cut in for a layup. I thought RJ was awesome in the second half, man. He's getting my first star. Second star is going to be Shai. Battle through the early foul trouble. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Giddey bar now. But, like, seriously, like, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. It's the fact that he competes defensively, too, man. This guy's got to be a coach's dream. Not only is he like, okay, I'm going to handle all the crunch time offense for you. Not only is like, I'm going to score one-on-one. No one can guard me. Dustin Daniels is a really good defender, man. And Australia was sending double teams. The number of times that, like, Shai looked like he was stuck and he still made a jumper, that's nasty. But the defense, there were stretches in that third quarter where he was coming back to rebound, he's getting a deflection, he's getting a steal, he's blocking a shot. He competes on both ends. How many, like, MVP level players compete on both ends, right? So, I mean, yeah, Shai's been awesome. And then your third star, I think I'm gonna give it to Lu Dort. Lu Dort was incredible. The stats don't jump out because that's not the type of player that he is, but 11 points, 2 assists, 3 steals, made 2 threes, 2 of 5, including some in the second half, once again, to give Canada more separation. That's what happened in the last game as well. He had that big 3 to put it from 4 to 7 points in the fourth quarter. But, yeah, Lu's been awesome. He was able to not... I think the only thing with Lu is because he's playing such aggressive on-ball defense, he's going to pick up, like, probably 1 or 2 fouls a game, just trying to pick up the ball. But I don't care. Like, I need him to be that aggressive, and he knows that. He's going to be that aggressive all the time. And yeah, it's a genuine pleasure watching him play. Like, honestly, OKC fans, man, I'm so jealous, man. You guys get to watch this every game. Is crazy. And then you got those other guys too. But yeah, Shai and Lu were awesome, and RJ, I thought for me was just absolute killer. The straw that broke Australia's back today was RJ Barrett for me. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner. Honestly, it could be a lot of guys. I thought, Josh Giddey played really, really well, but it was large in the first half. Jock Landale has been really good throughout for Australia, both warm-ups and also in game 1. I'll probably give it a Landale. I mean, 16 points, 12 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds, 4 assists, playing really physical around the hoop. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't even necessarily even need Canada to produce, like, a star-level big man, although it'd be ideal. But, like, just even a Jock Landale would be really helpful for Team Canada. But, yeah, he's played really well in this tournament so far. His physicality. And, again, he was a farmer, too. That's kind of cool. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Dante Exum played well. Like, Australia played really well. Like, they're a good team. Like, I actually fully expect them to be the second team that comes out of this, out of this. But, like, they got a do-or-die game now against Greece coming up, and they're 1-1. Greece is 0-2. Spain is 1-1 now. Canada's had 2-0, and we sit in a really good position. So I'm really forward to looking at the next game. And I know we are trying to make some plans for live watch parties. We got to settle all the logistics first, and once we have all that down, and we have something like prepared and ready to announce, we will do that. But it'll be really, really good to sort of get to see all this in person and get the energy together. Because again, like, That's what I always love about soccer is like you get to have everybody sit together and watch the game and, at a bar and everyone's like really pumped up or wherever. So we're going to find a place. Don't worry. I don't want to say where, but there's multiple spots in consideration, but we just got to sort out the logistics. Just trust us on that end. And when we do it, we will get the word out and we'll get together and enjoy this run together because this is special, man. This is really, really special. So thanks everyone for watching. Please continue to rate, review, subscribe to the Hello and Welcome podcast. And